Good afternoon. This is Keith Shindler coming to talk to you today regarding dog bites. Thank you for listening to Claim Your Justice information on how to help you in your regular life deal with personal injury cases, personal injury claims that you or a family member or a loved one or friend may have. The topic today is going to be dog bites. Again, weather is getting nice outside. We talked last session about motorcycles coming out when the weather gets nice. Well, everyone walks their dog, and more people walk their dog in the summer and springtime, and more people run with their dogs. And over my career, I've handled a number of dog bite cases, and I just want to give some general information about dog bites and how to protect yourself and how to make the best recovery for yourself. We all love dogs, right? We all think our dogs are gentle, and we all see dogs sometimes that we know that aren't so gentle, or maybe we don't think they're so gentle. Dog bites can happen in any situation or many situations. You could happen when you're walking your own dog. It could happen, you can get bitten by a dog while you're visiting a friend. You could get bitten by a dog by someone brings their dog to the beach and you're laying on the beach or playing sports at the beach or jumping in and out of water. There's a dog, you can get bitten there. I had a client that was bitten by a dog while trick-or-treating. Postal workers, of course, those civil servants who deliver our mail each day and who we care about, sometimes they get bitten by a dog. There's the frequency of dog, but there was a study by the U.S. Postal Worker Service, and Chicago had the fourth highest number of dog bites for postal workers. Not such an interesting statistic for Chicago, but they're very common. The damage that you could have suffered upon you or injury caused to you by a dog bite, it ranges vastly. I had a client that was bitten on the back of her leg, actually a postal worker bitten on the back of her calf, and she had some scarring. I have a young child bitten while, as I mentioned, Halloween trick-or-treating, vicious scar. I had another client who suffered a dog bite while hanging out at her boyfriend's house, and the boyfriend had a German Shepherd or another type of large dog like that, and didn't really necessarily like the interference between the owner and its dog and the visitor, and she suffered a vicious dog bite to her face, requiring many stitches and having residual scarring. We all know dangerous dogs, right? I mean, I think we've seen dangerous dogs, whether it be a pit bull or a mastiff, maybe very gentle. The question is, you got to be concerned what happens in the awful situation where you do get a dog bite. Illinois is interesting because it has what's called a strict liability statute. And the strict liability statute means there's not too many defenses to the owner of the dog or the caretaker of the dog being responsible for the injuries suffered upon a victim. So strict liability, if your dog gets out or a dog you're babysitting for gets out, bites somebody, you're responsible. You're strictly liable for the injuries suffered by the victim. And of course, there's certain defenses to the strict liability. If a victim was doing something to antagonize the dog, let's say the victim was smacking the dog in the face, let's say the victim was pulling the dog's tail, let's say the victim was kicking the dog, and the dog was responding to that type of agitation, that's certainly a defense you'll have to deal with. But if you're just going about your own business and a dog bites you, strict liability on the homeowner. Now, we talked about the type of injuries, and everyone may know someone who's been bitten by a dog. The problem is sometimes the insurance is not sufficient. So if you get bitten by a dog, and let's say the owner of the dog lives in an apartment, generally the owner, you hope, the tenant would have what's called tenant insurance, and that would provide some level of liability coverage to the victim. It could be only $50,000. And when I say only $50,000, it may seem like a lot of money, but it's not, because you have scarring that happens at the time. You could have a permanent disfigurement that needs to be corrected by a future surgery by a plastic surgeon. You could have a fracture to your bone when you're bitten by a dog that can prevent you from moving your fingers, let's say, or properly moving your wrist or your knee. So insurance, in my experience, is generally not enough available to fully compensate the client for the value of the injury. And so, for your own protection, if we're going to take the other side of this, if you're a dog owner and you're concerned about protecting your assets, you should discuss with your insurance agent how much liability coverage you have in the event of a dog bite, and if there's any way to increase that with some type of umbrella liability coverage. Now, certainly, if a person, we're talking about civil liability, certainly if a person, what do we say, sick, the dog owners say sick, if they sick their dog on a victim intentionally, there could be criminal liability where the police come in and they arrest the owner. Or let's say the owner doesn't properly take care of its fence, her fence, and allows the dogs to get out and roam, and a pack of animals attack a little girl, God forbid, then it's possible you could seek the victim and the victim's family could seek criminal charges because the homeowner may have had an incident previously, or the homeowner may have had warnings that they need to properly maintain their dogs and contain their dogs and didn't. So there could be criminal liability for that as well. Sadly, sometimes a victim is bitten by a dog that is owned by a friend of theirs. And the reaction we see frequently in those situations is, I don't want to make a claim. I don't want to call the police because then the dog's going to be put down. Now, I have a little bit of personal experience with that from many, many years ago. So I understand. The fact of the matter is, this is not morality channel here. This is how to claim your justice. But if you don't make the call to the animal control in the neighborhood for a possibly vicious dog that your owner may have, or a dog that may just be a little too old and is responding aggressively, you should be concerned about that dog attacking someone else. And I always recommend my clients, I know you like your friends, may love your friends, family members, whatever, who own the dog. It's kind of your responsibility to the community to make sure that you put the governmental agencies around that neighborhood on notice that there could be a dangerous dog living there. We talked a little bit about if you're babysitting for a dog. Someone says, hey, I'm going out of town for the weekend. Can you please house sit my dog? And so you go to the person's house, you sit there very comfortable, you get maybe free food, they're paying you to stay there. If you're not doing your best to maintain the control of that animal, and the animal gets out and bites a postal worker or someone running by the neighborhood, running by the house, and the dog sprints and takes off after that dog and bites that person, you as the babysitter could be responsible. And the problem is you may not have insurance coverage for that particular loss. So be careful. Know what kind of dog you're babysitting for, and make sure you properly control that dog with a leash and don't let it out when you shouldn't be letting it out. Time limits are, if it's a normal incident, you have 2 years in Illinois to make a claim. When I say normal incident, if you have a child involved, you have sometimes a longer period. You have a longer period of time because you have 2 years from the time the child reaches the age of majority, but there's no reason to wait. I'm telling you the technical applications of the law, but my recommendation is always make sure you don't waste time. Evidence spoils. Things happen that we could otherwise do to get pictures necessary or get the animal inspected for rabies. There's no reason to wait that amount of time if you're going to make a claim and if you're injured. Compensation can include medical bills, lost wages if it's an adult and they are forced to miss work because of the dog bite. We talked about permanent disfigurement. It could just be a scar, or it could be the animal bites so hard a person loses a hand or fingers on a hand or part of their face. And so it may require reconstructive surgery. It may require some type of a device to replace a finger. So there's a myriad of damages that can be added on depending on the severity of a dog bite. Thank you for listening. Remember, when you, family member, or friend suffer any type of injury in an auto accident, a wrongful death, today we're talking about dog bites, slip and falls, workers' compensation, let us show you how to claim your justice. Visit www.claimyourjustice.com or call it 188-88-KEITH. Thank you for taking the time to listen.